Bimini. Some of the stitching's come undone, and some of it needs altering because the framework was really adjusted to fit the Bimini, which worked quite well, but since Sergio strengthened the Bimini and welded up the joints, it's made the Bimini very stiff, which was the purpose of doing it, and now some of the zips won't zip up because they're in the wrong place, so they're going to have to be adjusted. I started a hunt around the boat to find the sail needles and thread, and couldn't find any. The lady next door has kindly given me some thread and a sail needle, but during the process of hunting for my own, I came across this. Never seen one before, so I'm going to give this a go. I've sort of worked out how you use it. I don't know what it's called. It's supposed to make life easier, but like many products, it may sound good, but whether it's actually good in practice, who knows. I think I'm about to find out. So let me start and I'll report back. Of course, I tackled the easiest job first, and to be quite honest, I've made a right pig's ear of it. I tried using this, and does it work? Possibly, but doing it above your head and with very difficult access to the where the needle comes through the other side makes life difficult. The thread kept breaking, which was unfortunate. I went back to just using a standard sail needle, and it took about the same time, but actually made a tidier job. This kept getting tangled up. I think if you worked on something where you could see both sides, something small where you could push it through and thread the needle through the top, it would probably work, but in a difficult location, no, not at all. Would I buy one? No. If it fell in the water, it would float. Would I go and rescue it? No. So I'm going to continue with just using a sail needle and thread. Probably a bit embarrassed to show you my first attempt, but like always, if I make a blooper, I'm willing to own up to it. So I'll show you the first mess, which was on the easier part of the Bimini than the other, and I'll show you what I've got to do, which is a bit more difficult. I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this, but there's an 18-inch stretch of thread that came loose, and I've sort of attempted to stitch it up. It's a right mess, but at least it's not hanging down and flapping anymore. The difficult bit is going to be this bit. Again, I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see this, but this is where the old side of the zipper went, and it's got to be moved to here. I've tacked a bit in place here. Going around this corner is going to be a bit of a nightmare, so I'm going to put in quite a few tacks and then get the needle and thread out and see if I can do it. I think it's going to take a fair while, and I'll probably stab myself in the fingers a few times, but it's one of those projects. Didn't want to do it, decided I'd better get on with it. I can't put it off any longer, so I'm going to have a go, and I'll show you the result, no matter how messy it is. Well, I've more or less finished the stitching. It's not the prettiest in the world. Still got about 4 or 5 inches more to do, but I ran out of thread. So I'll have another go at that later on. Had an interesting morning this morning. Did 2 podcast interviews for retirement groups. I seem to have picked up quite a following of people that are retired and looking at doing exactly the same as me, buying a boat and cruising various parts of the world. So yeah, it was an interesting conversation. I think the podcast comes out in December, one of them, and the other one comes out in January. So I'll post on the site once I've got the details and once the podcasts are released. But yeah, it was a bit of fun. There are some interesting questions. I'll leave you to have to wait for for the podcast. I don't want to spoil their thunder, but yeah, interesting morning. I appear to have left all the difficult projects towards the end. Maybe I shouldn't have. The next thing I've got to do is untangle the twisted wires, or the twisted ropes on the davits. For some reason, over a period of time, they seem to twist, and it makes it difficult pulling the dinghy out of the water, especially again with the outboards fitted. So I'll show you what that is. I'm probably going to take it down. It will be easier to re-thread everything in the cockpit rather than trying to do it from with everything in place. Then the next thing is I've got to fill 8 jerry jugs with diesel. There's no fuel dock here at the marina. Fortunately, the petrol station or Pemex station isn't too far away, and I've got a little trolley that I can put 1 jerry jug on. So I think what I'll do is every morning before it gets too hot, after coffee, is to wander up to the gas station and fill up 1 jerry jug. It's unusual that the marina doesn't have diesel, but this was changed a number of years ago and they were able to fit in some more permanent slips, so it was obviously worth more money to them, and you can't blame them for doing it, but it does make life a bit tough when you need to fill up. So that's the plan. I'll show you what I've got to do with the dinghy davits. It shouldn't be too difficult. As you can see, it works on a block system and pulleys, and which makes life a lot easier pulling the dinghy up. But you can see that the lines have twisted amongst themselves, and I need to take it down, pull it apart, and then re-thread the lines back in, because it is getting tough pulling the dinghy up. So I'm just going to unstrap it from the top and then do it in the cockpit. Right, I've mounted it in the cockpit now. Now you can see the twists and turns that get introduced. I'm just wondering whether it's actually been set up right. I'm not sure, but I think there might be something wrong, because the main pulley, or the main rope that raises the dinghy up and down, is this one. So you pull it and it's in the middle. I'm wondering whether it should be strung from the join here, so that the pulley part, this part, ends up over here. By putting it in the middle, surely it automatically introduces a twist. I'd be interested in your comments on this, because I'm not 100% sure. So I'm gonna string it in a slightly different way and see if that helps with the pulley, the tensioner on this one. So rather than in the middle where it's got to cross over at some time. Anyway, if you've got any ideas, please comment, and I'd appreciate your help. Well, there it is, restrung. I've just started from this side and gone all the way across, and as you can see, now there's no tangles in the line, and hopefully the swivels on the blocks will stop the line tangling, but I'm not sure. We'll see when we put it up and it's been used for a few weeks. But hopefully it'll be easy to pull the arse end of the dinghy up with the engine on it now, because it is a 15 horsepower. A lot easier. Yay! Time for a beer. Don't know whether you can see this, but there's a fair bit of swell coming into the marina which is unusual. Whilst we're on the subject of dinghies, I thought I'd just mention the use of dinghy chaps down here. Although the dinghy's quite old, it's a Hypalon dinghy which tends to weather or not suffer so much with the heat and sun down here, but it's still worth protecting them. I think the dinghy's about 10 years old and it's always had chaps on it. The cheaper plastic ones probably last 18 months down here, and then all the joints give and the glue gives away, so you can actually extend the life of your dinghy by getting, I mean there's plenty of people down here that make them, by putting a set of chaps on the dinghy. Something very worthwhile, and something I'd recommend to anybody that was going to sail in tropical waters, or definitely in Mexico because it's so damn hot in the summer. The other necessity, dinghy wheels, definitely on the mainland side because there's quite a few relatively unprotected anchorages and a few shore breaks that you have to go in through. But even in the sheltered part of the Sea of Cortez, you've still got to drag the dinghy up the beach because of the further north you get, the bigger the tides are. So for a single-hander, I couldn't get this thing up the beach. It would be a pain. But by dropping the wheels, I can just lift up the front and take it 10 or 15 feet up the beach and put the anchor out in the sand. Well, it's Saturday night in La Paz, and I've got a very decided to give the engine a bit of a degrease this morning and clean everything up, tighten up the belts. It's got an engine run Cruise RO water maker system that produces about 35 gallons an hour, runs off this pulley down here. Engine cleaned up really well. It looks like I've got some gunk in the bottom of one of the filters, so I'm going to have to clean that up. The two other filters look fine, but this one, this end, looks like there's some gunk in the bottom. So I'll get that cleaned up, ready to go. And then probably something I've never seen before, and I don't know whether you have, but the boat is actually fitted with a diesel run hot water system. So you don't have to run the engine to make hot water. It will still heat the engine, heat the water with the engine running. But if you're on in an anchor and you don't want to run the engine, you can run this diesel operated standalone system. I don't know whether I'll use it or not because the water down here is pretty warm for most of the year. So we'll see. But what I did find was a slight problem, and I'll show you, which was a very easy fix. This cap had come apart, so I just got the 5200 out and glued the top of it back on. It was completely separated. I'll have to get the manual out and find out what this tank is for, whether it's water or it's fed from the main tanks for the diesel, so I'll have to have a read tonight. But yeah, everything seems to be in good shape. Ready to leave in a few weeks time. Didn't make too much of a mess, just got to clean the bilges out now. But yeah, another quick and easy project ticked off. Exciting evening tonight. I'm off to hunt all the hardware stores in town to try and find 2 sets of come-alongs so I can pull the dinghy tight into the stern rail when I set off. To keep it secure. I also bought a new pair of shorts today. I realised when I got home they actually match the dinghy chaps, so we're going to be motoring around the anchorages in style. The other thing I've got to do actually is an apology. Last week's video had some rather loud intro music, and I had a couple of comments from people that they didn't like it. Completely my fault. I must have touched a button or done something that changed it, because all the other intro music has been background, but I did something that caused the volume to go up. I don't know what I did. It wasn't intentional. and you have my apologies if it damaged your eardrums, but it won't happen again. I'll check to make sure next time. And I think because it's been such a successful week this week, I'm going to either treat myself to a beer tonight, or, and more likely, an ice cream. They have some fantastic ice creams here along the Malecon, and they are huge. A single scoop, it's probably just not enough, and the double scoop is like, wow. I'll take a photograph of it and maybe stick it on the end of the at the end of this video, but for what is it, $3, you get this massive double scoop cone. Unbelievable. But yeah, I'll stick a photograph on that at the end of the video. But thanks for watching again this week. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and what I forgot to say in the past is if you also hit the notification button, which is a little bell, you'll actually get notified when my next video is released. So again, thank you very much, and hope you all had a great week like I did. Cheers.